Welcome to the postpartum program. This is week 1, right after you have a baby. Even if you're 3-4 months out, that's okay. Please start at week 1. It's important to get the basics down before continuing on. I want a good, strong pelvic floor activation before we go on to the further weeks. So it's okay to redo this week 3 weeks in a row. I really want you activating that pelvic floor. If you're unable to feel the pelvic floor, I do have a bonus video on how some techniques can help you find it. Okay, also I want to note, on your first week after having a baby, or ever, do not push or strain on the toilet. When you're going to the bathroom, I want you to think of a relaxed jaw, open mouth. We call it open glottis. So you're going to open your mouth and exhale to relax your pelvic floor in order to void. Toileting is a parasympathetic activity, which means you need to relax in order to void. Week 1 and 2 will be in the bed. It's important that you can relax as much as possible after giving birth. And that's why the exercises for the first 2 weeks will be in bed. All right, let's get started. Okay, the first one we're going to start with laying down. We're going to do that diaphragmatic breathing. So you can either have your knees up or you can have them straight. I'm going to have you have one hand on the top of your stomach and one on the lower abdomen portion. I want you to focus on breathing in. As you inhale, everything expands. Just like we talked about in the education video. So if you have not watched that, please go back and watch that because it goes into more detail. Inhale, everything expands. Exhale. Breathing, especially this diaphragmatic breathing, is very important when you're pregnant and then also postpartum because it helps you relax, decrease your nervous system, and it helps heal your pelvic floor because there's fibers that run up into the diaphragm and it's just one unit. It works together. So working that is ultimately working your pelvic floor, so it's just as important. So inhale, exhale. Ribs expand. Do 10 of those. Try to do it before you take a nap or before you go to bed. You'll find that it helps you fall asleep easier. Okay, now the second exercise is isolated Kegels. I'm sure you've heard of Kegels before. You're going to think of that flaxseed, raisin, blueberry coming up the elevator like we talked in the education video. So inhale, pelvic floor relaxes. Exhale, flaxseed, raisin, blueberry go up the elevator. So we're trying to contract and relax that pelvic floor. Okay, once you do 10 of those, we're going to do contract and hold for 5 seconds. So contract, raisin, blueberry, flaxseed. Contract, go up the elevator and hold it for 5 seconds. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000. And relax. Breathe in. Exhale. Kegel. Hold it. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000. And breathe in. Exhale. Inhale, relax. It's just as important to relax your pelvic floor as much as it is to contract it. All right, the third exercise is going to be a Kegel with a TA, transverse abdominis draw in, which means your belly button goes towards the spine. It's not sucking in from the top, it's coming from the bottom. So you're going to breathe in, exhale, pelvic floor comes up, TA comes up, and release. Breathe in, exhale, release. You can feel your transverse abdominis by taking 2 fingers and placing inside your hip bones here, your hip spikes right here. You're going to breathe in, exhale, you may feel it contract underneath your fingers there. You may have more tissue there because you just had a baby. That is normal. It will go down over time. Inhale and exhale. The fourth exercise, I'm going to have you bend your knees up, and we're going to do an anterior and posterior pelvic tilt with our Kegel and TA. So I want you to breathe in, relax everything, anterior tilt your pelvis, and then exhale, pelvic floor comes up, TA comes up, and you posterior pelvic tilt, okay? So it's going to look like this. Exhale. And inhale. Exhale. And inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And inhale. This is just getting that pelvis moving with the tightening of the pelvic floor. All right, then I'm going to show you 2 of the same exercises we did laying down. You can do 2 of them standing up. 2 exercises that I want to show you that you can do in standing is a Kegel and a Kegel with a TA. So first, let's just act like you're holding your baby, you're rocking the baby. Do make sure to sit down sometimes when you're rocking the baby. We don't want all that weight, all the extra force early on to put pressure down on your pelvic floor. But anyways, so while you're standing rocking baby, you can do some Kegels. Even when you're sitting down breastfeeding, you can do Kegels as well. I know social media kind of dogs on Kegels, but it's important to be able to isolate those muscles, even though there's other things that can promote more, better, stronger contraction, pelvic floor contraction. But it's important early on to be able to isolate those muscles. So in standing, sometimes people find that it's easier. So you're holding baby and then you're thinking of the raisin, blueberry, flaxseed going up the elevator. So just holding for 2 seconds. I'm holding baby. Breathing in, inhale, exhale, Kegel. Breathing in, exhale, Kegel. Breathing in, exhale, Kegel. Okay, and for the next one, the Kegel with the TA, I'm going to lower my pants here so you can see. So I want you to breathe in, exhale, Kegel, transverse abdominis comes up. Sometimes people find it's easier to do it in standing to connect with your pelvic floor because you're fighting against gravity. But other times people think it's hard because, again, you're fighting against gravity. So try out both ways. Try to do it 10, Kegels, like 10 times a day. I know that's kind of a lot, but just whenever you think of it, do a couple Kegels for the first week. You don't have to continue on with that, but it'd be good to reconnect with that area after you've been birthed. All right, so come back for week 2. We'll do more exercises in the bed, and then after that, we will progress to harder exercises. All right, see you there.